In terms of using NFTs for real world use cases, ticketing would be the biggest one that we've seen so far.
I think so.
And how do you see that evolving? And what do you see after ticketing as the next big real world use case for NFTs?
I think other functional things that apps or email confirmations do. I think reservations, couponing, a lot of what you see in app culture, I think NFTs can really play a role. Leveling up in video games, I really think that every airline ticket is going to be an NFT instead of a QR code. I think when we have scaled NFT readers, then it's gonna be really interesting. Like, how's that gonna look? Could you imagine going to a supermarket and like just scanning your phone, and because you have a certain NFT, your grocery bill is 20% less?
Hello everyone, this is Anthony and you're listening to the Disruptic Podcast. Today we have our first guest and he's no other than GaryVee himself. How you doing today, Gary?
I'm well, brother. I'm pretty excited to be on episode 1.
Episode 1, yeah.
And I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you. Starting off strong.
It's all downhill from here. I'm kidding. It's gonna get better.
So, I want to talk about VeeFriends, VidCon, and some other topics, but before we get into that, I want to start with you and your background on NFTs. So when you first heard about NFTs and what was your first interaction with them?
So CryptoKitties in 2017 was the first time something was on my radar. I was like, that's cool, because the garage sale, the collectibles, but that lasted like a day of like maybe 40 minutes of homework, and it was just on my radar. Then NBA Top Shot. I got a preview. It was coming in the fall of 2020. Investor friend of mine said, speak to Roham. Loved it. Thought it was so neat. Thought it was really cool. Was very into sports card collecting at the time, and still am, but like really hot on it. Things have been flow, and got busy because it was also during COVID, and like I was just running the company, and watched it and it was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then it exploded. And I was like, oh, fuck, I missed the opportunity. And like, kind of like, man, it was... And then that got me into CryptoPunks. Kevin Rose from Moonbirds and I have been friends for a long time. And he's like, what do you think about CryptoPunks? And I was like, I'm not aware of that. And then did like a ton of homework on that. Got really in love with that. Thought that was super cool. And so, that was kind of the journey. And then I started doing a lot of homework on older projects, which I like quite a bit. And then probably around February of 21, I decided that I wanted to do my own project. I had this big concept called Workplace Warriors. They were little toys of like things like patience and compassion that I thought if people had them on their desk, they would have better day to day. And I kind of took the essence of that and use it as the foundation to what I wanted to create, which was VeeFriends. And
with VeeFriends, the whole mission of VeeFriends is kind of to amplify your voice, to scale GaryVee. And
not just GaryVee, like I'm passionate about certain positive attributes, mm-hmm. but just to amplify good mm-hmm. at scale.
Was it the timing just right? Because I feel like you were at the point where you've kind of done as much as you could do with like social media. I mean, you can still make content, but would you still have gone ahead and launched VeeFriends without the NFT, without that technology? Like, did the timing line up, or because I feel like you're at that pinnacle where?
I think that, to your point, the answer is probably, right? To your point, I'd already had the meetings of launching a toy business around Workplace Warriors. So it was, to your point, brewing. I feel like I have a long way to go on the GaryVee of it all, and I could, but that doesn't change the fact that my voice doesn't resonate for a lot of people. I'm humbled to my core that my voice resonates with so many people. I'm also incredibly aware that it's a voice that is unknown to way more, and it is a voice, especially mine, that doesn't resonate to some people. It's too aggressive, it's too competitive. And so I'm empathetic to that. And to your point, yes, I feel like the timing was great. Mm-hmm. But the technology and kind of what was happening in the space really spoke to it.
Yeah, it lined up. I thought that too. And VeeFriends, what you've accomplished so far, I want to say, I think it's amazing. How do you feel like, what have you learned from May 2021 to now?
I feel very focused. I feel really happy about where I am. I feel like it's on its path. A lot has happened. Mm-hmm. VidCon was a huge success. The 3 conferences that came along with Series 1 was very important to me. We've done some meaningful awareness executions, Toys R Us, Macy's collaboration, the Uno collaboration, a lot of streetwear and fashion. So really happy with like the early stages of that. But most importantly, I'm pumped that I'm building the organization, the talent, hiring a lot of former Vayner employees or other employees has been really fun and fruitful and feels very much like it's working. And so, I think caught up a little bit in the hype of it all, like feel like I could have done a better job. Like in Discord, I like did a lot of great things, very active, but definitely got a little bit caught up in the summer of love and like maybe hyperbolized a little bit too much about where, like long term, I feel like the project's going to be incredibly unbelievable, but like felt like I learned that I get into this mindset that I'm part of the community, but I'm not. I'm the founder and operator of it. So learned some of those lessons. But really proud of like putting out all the content. I did about 99% going to 0. Mm-hmm. That was like really important at the height of it all. So that's good. Just building.
Yeah. Since I've been following you, your audience, very important to you. And what I like about you, and this is just your style, not that it's a bad thing to sell to your audience, but you really, besides like some wine, sneakers, a book, you really have chosen not to monetize your audience. And not that VeeFriends has, but have you found that VeeFriends, where it did take somewhat of a significant investment for a lot of people to buy the NFT, has your relationship, has it changed with them?
Well, with a small percentage.
Yeah.
With 95%, no.
I'm referring to the ones, what I mean is like, they bought a VeeFriend because they're trying to flip it, trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it definitely, I think that's a great call out. It was the most, to your point, for a decade, outside of the occasional $20 thing, I wasn't selling courses. I didn't buy an island. Yep. I didn't do a lot of things, right? Which is fine. And like, I don't think that that's bad. It's just not what I had done. Yeah. For me, VeeFriends was less about monetizing the audience and creating a new universe. Like to me, what's really fun is like, I didn't stop making content. I didn't stop engaging with people. I haven't stopped going live. I don't stop emailing and replying. Like nothing has changed with the audience other than the key was the way I priced it was, what's the conference worth over 3 years? Mm-hmm. And so I looked at South by Southwest and all that stuff. I wanted the conference to be the punchline and then everything else be kind of added value, right?
The bonus,
The whole thing got so hot that the prices went crazy and people were buying them at prices way above mint. And then with Series 2, I wanted to make sure the trading cards were very collectible and like I always, with everything that I've done with VeeFriends, I wanted to make sure the real life thing was either right at or close to the value of the original price. Mm-hmm. So when I look at the sports card market, I thought, what if I made something that was $1,000 box? Now I didn't feel like I closed the gap on like the conference. I feel like it was like, $3,000-$4,000 conference for a weekend type and 3 years, and this is the price. With the cards, I felt more of it was like maybe half the value. Maybe it was a $500 box or a $600 mm-hmm. box. So that's how I think about stuff. Plus, with the blockchain, you're able to provide surprise values and all these other things. So, I think, yes, I do. To answer your question directly, do I believe that after going all those decades without, quote unquote, selling things to the audience and now having a major project, that for some people it did change it? Yes. And what's funny is for some people on both sides, the people that maybe spent money that they couldn't afford to lose or like bought at the top of the market and the thing's gone down, they may have a negative sentiment. But even it changed my relationship with a lot, the amount of people that made an extraordinary amount of money, they're more quote unquote happy with me. And so, money fucks up a lot of things. Yeah. And so like, it was definitely big enough that it was like, because I'm thinking for the rest of my life, mm-hmm. I thought it'll be good in the end. And so that's what made me go there.
That's a practical way of looking at it. It was the VeeFriends with first NFT I bought, and yes. If you could break it down to, okay, what's the value of a conference, or what's the value of this access?
Yes, correct.
And it made sense a lot of times, at least, especially at first. Yeah, things did get crazy. Yes, but you probably didn't want things going that crazy that fast.
Not that fast. But I don't want. This is, you said, what did you learn? I wish I have supreme confidence in myself. Plus, I know who I am. Meaning, I know what my intent is. I know what my capacity is. I know what my talents are. And so, where I think I made a micro misstep is, I just think I'm going to build the best project of all time, and I feel like that's fine. But I don't think I needed to say it as much in the Discord as I did during the height of the summer. So, to your point, I don't love when things run up that high. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I was proud of it and it felt good at the time. And I still knew that, I don't think I could when I was making 99% or going to zero, I definitely wish I made more content of I bet you VeeFriends is not gonna stay at this price forever too. And hopefully that, you just want to give out good content. And so that's what I think a lot about.
VidCon this year.
23?
23, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you learn from the first VidCon? I assume VidCon 2023 or 2022 was huge. I assume you're probably wanted to make it somehow even better than last year. But what did you learn from last year that you're going to implement this year?
So the big joke with me and my inner circle is that I learned a ton. The problem was 22 went off so well.
Yeah.
We didn't deserve it to go that well. That's your big headline for this podcast. We were too green. I never threw up anything of that, but the love and the good, it just went too well. We had great content. The community was awesome. I was bleeding out of my eyeballs to be there for everyone. And so I feel so what I learned, plan earlier, we're way ahead of schedule compared to last time. But what's fun about 23 for me is I do think a lot of people are going to get a lot more value, because last year was the height of people wanting to get educated about Web3 and NFTs and things of that nature. This year, it's going to be a lot more about business, a lot more about marketing, a lot more about popular culture, a lot more about innovation. And so I'm really excited because I think we're going to have a much wider, broader, more intriguing content execution. And I think that's going to service us very well.
So maybe more business instead of the Web3 stuff.
There'll be plenty of Web3 personalities, but there's going to be a ton of CEOs and CMOs of big companies and startups and mid-sized companies. So I think you're going to get and I think there's a lot more pop culture. So a lot more people with audiences for acting or for, entertainment that I think will create a lot of fun panels to check out.
And to be able to provide these, these events or this access, these things for holders, probably does that have to do with the funding that you raised? Is that what the funding's going to be used for mainly, or?
I mean, yes.
Right, but to get them to fall in love with this, I've heard you say, whether it's TV show, movies, amusement parks, books, comic books, there's a lot of different avenues to push this IP.
Yes.
Which one are you most excited?
Probably animation. Long form oomphy animation has the chance to really hit. Shrek meant nothing until it premiered. Mm-hmm. You can go from zero to icon if you get that right. So there's a lot of excitement I have for that. Collectibles, little executions, what if we make a candy that goes viral? Things like that.
Yeah. I want to chat a little bit about Vayner3.
Yes.
I don't believe that everyone knows what Vayner3 is. Can you just give us a quick couple sentences on that?
We started a agency in the VaynerX world, separate from VeeFriends, called Vayner. First it was VaynerNFT. We rebranded to Vayner3. It's really our innovation agency, a consulting and execution agency that thinks through all the opportunities that companies have in blockchain, in NFT land, but also broader than that. And the reason we reframed it to Vayner3 is we want to incorporate, AI, VR, AR. There's a lot of innovation going on in the world right now at the same time. And so Avery, she's incredible, sits at the helm of that. And
hoping to get her on too one day.
You will. Yeah. You will. Just leverage me. I'll help you. And she's brilliant and doing a great job running that company. And we're excited about it.
Big brands, you see some are very pro Web3, taking a big jump. Some are hesitant. Yep. I feel like they're waiting to see how things play out. The ones who are optimistic, why do you see them jumping in? And And likewise, the ones that are hesitant, like what's the main reason for them not to jump in?
I think government clarity on the hesitation. And then the ones jumping in is they've been around the block and have seen innovation, first mover advantage matter. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are the two clarities.
In terms of, just macro big brands with Web3, like what's the number one trend you're seeing?
Caution. We're snag dab in the middle of a crypto winter, though it's been a little bit better last couple of weeks.
I guess some of the recent events are probably not helping, like with FTX and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I don't even look at exchanges as Web3, right? They were more Web2 than they were Web3, right? To me, Web3 is like you're the custodial, you're in charge, right? I feel like that almost was like this bad version of Web 2.5. Mm-hmm. People thought they were in Web 3. It was fully Web 2.
Not fully understanding.
And I think people people with bad intentions exploited that. Or maybe, I've not really, because I never had any of my, holdings in exchanges. I didn't really pay attention other than the headlines, but it's hard to see how there's any good in like a lot of these things. When you're playing with people's money, on the back end, that's how banks got into trouble. We've seen that through the Great Depression and banking crises. And, I think, it's unfortunate, to your point, the headlines scare people off. And, I think you just have to wait.
Which brand that has entered the Web3 space, what's your favorite example of whether it's a Vayner3 client or someone else? Like, what's the best example you can think of?
I liked how Nike and Adidas took it really serious. I think that really stands out to me. The artifact acquisition, the executions, that stands out as like, okay, they're like pot committed to the space. So I'd say those two stand out. I don't want to use Vayner3, but Pepsi and Budweiser, I think, did a great job of also taking it serious. I never got to look under the hood, but I was impressed that Lacoste had a good execution during a down market. So I never got to really look what they did, but that caught my attention. DraftKings, I think, with some of their stuff, I thought Kalish was so of it. So I think that helped them. Those stand out.
And in terms of, the loosely coined term of Metaverse, I feel like there's a long-term vision of what people have for it and what the current version is of it. What are big brands? What are they saying about the Metaverse? Are they, we have seen some enter.
It's been a space that I've been less passionate about. You're talking about VR.
Yeah, I guess the end goal would be a fully VR immersive experience.
I think people got ahead of their skis. I follow consumer behavior. Like, if people weren't buying CryptoPunks in late 2020, I wouldn't have been as interested. Until I see people really living in VR, it's hard to get excited about the metaverse that's defined that way. Mm-hmm. Building a Gucci store in Decentraland when there's like 12 people going there is not going to fire me up. And then the 12 people who actually did it on desktop, because nobody's really got a VR device outside of Oculus. So I think we're just far away from that, and we've always recommended in that vein to our clients.
So just Web3 in general, would it be fair to say, ticketing in terms of using NFTs for real world use cases, ticketing would be the biggest one that we've seen so far?
I think so.
And how do you see, especially, VCon and what you guys did down in Art Basel, that sort of thing. But how do you see that evolving, and what do you see after ticketing as the next big real world use case for NFTs?
I think other functional things that apps or email confirmations do, reservations. I really think that every airline ticket is going to be an NFT instead of a QR code. I think when we have scaled NFT readers, then it's going to be really interesting. Mm-hmm. Like, how's that going to look?
Yeah.
Just whether it's a phone or something else, boop, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine going to a supermarket and just scanning your phone, and because you have a certain NFT, your grocery bill is 20% less? I think they're functional. They're smart contracts. They're completely easy to integrate with. The technology is profound. This is why the concept of the collectibles of it all clouded a lot of the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I love collectibles, but I think reservations, couponing, like a lot of what you see in app culture, I think NFTs can really play a role. Leveling up in video games, like making your experiences better through the ownership of. And so that to me is how.
You mentioned, so video games is an interesting one, the gaming space. What I've seen is play to earn. It's kind of.
Well, the problem with play to earn is play to earn's great when 40 million people are playing and 8% care about the investing. Play to earn's a real problem when 100% of the people that are playing for the investment. Then they're just playing for the money, not for the love. And then when there's a thing that comes along that gives better play to earn things, they go from playing Axie to playing Schmaxie.
It's just because it's I found that's just really speculative. That's
you're not playing because you love it.
Yeah, there's not really any value being created.
I didn't play Mike Tyson's Punch Out because I was getting 3 cents for every hour I was playing.
Right. So perhaps then we'll see maybe some of the more established gaming brands adopting, and maybe it won't be play to earn so much. Maybe it's going to be more of the ownership of the assets. I'm not sure.
Play to unlock.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you buy a crap load of stuff on Roblox and Minecraft with real money to have in there, but then you grow up and you want to play Fortnite, it would be cool if you could sell off all your swag on those platforms and take your Minecraft and Roblox money to buy Fortnite stuff instead of putting your credit card in and buying that stuff. You're not creating an asset when you're playing in those games. It lives only within that game. But when it all goes decentralized, they become assets. So now all of a sudden, all those points you amassed on NBA 2K when you're like, I don't play 2K anymore, you can sell that on the blockchain instead of just letting it sit in the side of a video game.
Yeah, no, that's why I don't play as many as I'd like to anymore. But back in the day, Halo 3, Call of Duty, I put a lot of hours into those games.
Right, it would be nice if those things were assets to your next thing.
Yeah, for sure. And then just one more.
And it's not just gaming. Like, how cool is it if you had $8,000 worth of rare collectibles in that game, and you sell that off because you wanted to do some sort of like somebody's putting out a teaching NFT, and you get 80 hours of learning. It's like why I like garage sales. You've got stuff laying around your house that might be worth something. It's in your closet. Same with this. Your PS5 is your closet.
Yeah, I still have the files, right? But
that's right.
Just take it back to ticketing real quick. Besides just using NFT, replacing like a digital ticket with an NFT, what other ways do you see adding value to a customer, to maybe incentivize them to adopt like an NFT as a ticket?
Chanel could create a Chanel house where if you own the NFT, that gives you the ability to go to the 7th floor of their London store and have, cocktails and tea. But if you don't, you don't. Right?
So more of the exclusive access.
Access, right? Okay. There's also just where does a deed sit when you buy a home? The head of all the state's municipality building can burn down. What happens to all those papers? Now we're in a place where we scan them and they're in the cloud, but somebody when it's decentralized, nobody has full control of that. People, have to give that a lot of thought. So mundane things that nobody's going to think about. Contracts.
We've seen ticketing, a little bit of music, but my question is, these industries being disrupted or being Web3 starting to adopt them, what do you see as the next big industry that's going to be not maybe fully disrupted, but Web3 is going to start to enter? With music right now, I'd say it's very, very early. But do you think that'll be the next one to continue growing, or will it be gaming? Or
I think really any consumable is in play, like fashion, gaming, sports, entertainment. I think all of those are going to be, impacted. I think a lot of B2B stuff, the boring, legal, law firms, just documentation, where did things sit? I do think the entertainment business, why couldn't a streaming service come along that's built on NFT infrastructure instead of like, you know what I mean? Like why couldn't that be the subscriptions contracts, I think a lot about. So that's what I see right now.
You mentioned like in terms of fashion. So if we look at fashion where they're selling a physical product, I've been of the belief, it's very early, but I've been of the belief that, the physical products are a lot, if not all of them, are going to have like an associated NFT.
They will, and then the question becomes: is that physical product held up in an exchange in a warehouse, and you don't take ownership of it like StockX, and you're just trading the NFT that represents it? And then when I actually want to get that $8 million painting into my apartment, I have to burn the NFT to get the actual physical, or is it just a nice receipt? Where you can separate because once you give it to the person, if you give them the physical and the NFT, well, they're detached. Because I can just sell off the NFT or I can just sell off the physical, and there's no technology I can keep track.
Yeah.
Whereas if I sell you a $15,000 handbag and I give you the NFT, and the handbag sits in a Mercantile Exchange-like environment, then I can actually trade the NFT, and then if you actually want the bag, you can burn the NFT in redemption of.
Yeah, because what I'm getting at is, especially with luxury goods, but the secondary market with fakes and that sort of thing, right? I really seen NFTs as a way to help combat that, but it's so difficult now because one's a technology, one's a physical product. So
correct, and once you take ownership of it, you can't, it's not going to prove provenance unless it's sitting. But that's important. There's a lot of people that buy something very valuable to have. They want to know it's real. Yeah. If they buy it in NFT form to burn, to take physical accountability of it, then you're good. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
At least for that first secondary sale.
For that first secondary sale, you got it. Or the 9th, if nobody ever burns it. There could be 99 second. I mean, you know how much art's just sitting in docks around the world for tax havens? Or how much wine's sitting in wine cellars? Do you know how many sports cards are sitting in safety deposit boxes? Like a lot of people don't need the actual physical thing. My public stock is not sitting in my hands.
Right.
The knowledge of. And then over time, the NFT becomes the thing. Owning the NFT is owning the Birkin bag at scale. Birkin bag, I can only, rare pair of sneakers, only so many people can see me wearing them. But once this scales to like social media like levels, like people are going to be like, what NFTs does that person have?
That makes sense. We're starting to also see the first implementation of sort of like Web3 social media. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but the idea of like being able to own basically the data that whether it's the post, a tweet that you put, or the creative, or it's not put the best way, but owning your followers, being able to take them with you, transfer, if it's on the same protocol, transfer them from app to app.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on like the whole Web3 social media scene?
That it's inevitable.
That's where we're heading for sure.
I just don't see why one wouldn't work.
I guess the doubt is right now is just like the chicken or the egg. Like, you kind of need the people on the platform for people to for it to be.
This is where lack of patience comes in. To me, I'm like, cool, I'll wait 7 years.
To let it mature. The Web 2 platforms, they all went through that too, right?
That's right.
Right.
Like I was having dinner. Like me and Mark Zuckerberg would be in the Ace Hotel 7 years into Facebook, and people like didn't know who he was. 7 years. Like plenty did know who he was.
Yeah.
But like plenty didn't.
And
these things take time.
The current platforms.
What year? Can you Google real quick what year Uber was created? Like the exact date, Dustin? Yeah, exact date. And then can you do me a favor and tell me what's the date on that email? Or you got them both, Dustin? Thanks. What's the date?
March 2009.
Okay, and that email?
April 8th, 2011.
Right. So in 2 years and 1 month, so for everybody who's listening, I asked for the date, so obviously we got that from Dustin. And then what I asked Dustin to look on is I have a framed email from Uber thanking my brother AJ for taking the first Uber in New York. It took Uber 2 years after being invented to even test Uber in New York City. 2 years. It took them 2 years just to test New York. It takes time.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, no. That's,
2 full years.
I mean, I knew,
like, why are you not... why is VeeFriends not Disney? I'm like, I don't know. It's going to take me 50 years to get close.
So with the current Web2, with the current platforms, current social media platforms, where do they fit in terms of like,
well, I think it's better to put yourself out of business before someone else does. So at some point, if they feel like it's getting close, I assume they're going to want to execute their own version.
Yeah. So, and maybe some, like, I don't think all will adopt it, maybe they'll, and by the time they realize, maybe it'll be too late.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Facebook as a leader has been incredible at M&A. They bought Instagram, they bought WhatsApp, they tried to buy Snap. TikTok in essence wasn't really for sale, right? But like, I think that it's very clear that, if they could move super fast, they would either kill those things or buy them for nothing. But all those deals were billions of dollars.
Right.
Once something's out the bag, it's out the bag, right? And so, I think for the Meta, for the TikToks, for the LinkedIns, the YouTubes, they're gonna have to give it a lot of thought.
It's going to be tricky because, the business models are all predicated off.
Yeah, but you could have to me, it's just portfolio management. Yes, I understand over here, Facebook or TikTok, you make money off of people being in your ecosystem, but why can't you create another app that is decentralized? That's like owning a vegan restaurant and saying that you can't open a meat-only restaurant. Of course you can.
So they just,
Good.
I see what you're saying, just kind of, yeah.
Like, why couldn't Meta come out with a decentralized social network at scale? Win on both sides. It's not like, how long it's going to be before everyone migrates off of centralized social networks to decentralized social networks?
Take time.
12 years, 15, 19. You see?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the number I think of, 10 plus at least.
100%.
Yeah.
People don't even know what the fuck we're talking about right now.
I know.
Like decentralized, centralized, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
People are always like, people also just like read a headline and run with it. Like China, like I've literally had conversations with people like they hate US social networks, but now like they don't care anymore because China has TikTok. And I'm like, well, let's talk it out. What does that mean? Well, China will have my data. I'm like, everyone has your data. There's not a person on earth that's data has not been compromised at scale. The IRS was hacked. Yeah. Target was hacked. MasterCard was hacked. Visa has been hacked. Walmart's been hacked. Like Costco's been hacked. Like every government's been hacked. Like I don't understand this whole like,
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Nobody's data is private. Nobody's. What do you think data, who thinks their data is private? Everyone. All of them are wrong. What data? Every person. Do you know how many millions of people on the dark web have access to when you were born? You know how many people have your social security number right now? Tons. But people don't realize is that people don't act on, like there has to be a purpose. Like I laugh that people are like, I don't want TikTok to be on my phone. I'm like, your phone is the problem.
Yeah.
Like your phone is the problem. Your phone is much more like what are you scared of? Like people stealing your money from your bank? Well, like your bank gives it back to you. In Web3, you can actually get shit stolen, right? People want decentralization. Like one of the biggest decentralized people got hacked and then wanted the FBI involved. Well,
I know.
That's the hypocrisy of it.
The
like
theme I see too.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want TikTok. I'm like, your phone's like, you got your fucking GPS on. Like people are funny. Like people are fucking like worried about how much sugar is in a Coca-Cola, but then driving without a seatbelt. People are like petrified of flying while never wearing a seatbelt in the back seat. The data's clear. Like people just hyperbolize shit. Like I don't know. Like people just talk out of both sides of their mouth at scale, and it's boring. That's why no one's listening to them.
Yeah, no,
one
I know.
listens to me because you're a fucking idiot.
That's the
How about that part?
That's the theme I see too. Is like, it's everyone's kind of pushing for self ownership, self custody, but unfortunately, like, they're just lacking the education, or when something does happen,
everyone loves the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
Until somebody points a gun at them.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I mean. Like, where is the thoughtfulness?
Mm-hmm. Before we wrap up, I just want to talk about one other industry, maybe two if we have time. The music one. So it's
the Holy Grail.
Yeah, Web3 music.
The Holy Grail
the one you've talked about the most. I think
the Holy Grail is Nirvana fans owning a piece of the royalties. Like, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're gonna need clarity of law and all this, but like, when that happens, that'll be the most fun. Everyone can become an A&R. Mm-hmm. It's like fun. You're like, oh, this band's all, like now, how like the cliche thing, like somebody discovers a band or an artist, they love them when they're small, they see them in a 40-person venue, but when they get famous, they're like fucking sellouts. It's always been the weirdest relationship. Now people are gonna be like, go, 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 because I own 3% of your first album. Like, I want you to be fucking the biggest band in the world, because it'll change. If that happens, that'll be so cool.
No, I think it's for the better as well.
Otherwise you're just you're giving way too much leverage to the banks, which are the record labels.
Mm-hmm. Actually, on what do you think they're gonna do? Like, do you think they'll
evolve? They'll become marketing agencies for, if distribution and funding is taken away from them. Distribution now is social media. Like, how many more times do we need somebody to explode on SoundCloud and TikTok for people to realize you don't need MTV or to get your album? Like people still deep down think like, I'm gonna get my record in the record store. Like, I don't understand what we're doing here. Like, so I think that that will be really cool, and I think they'll evolve. They'll have to provide demand value, not distribution and finance value.
Could we like make the same is it similar to like maybe the social media platforms? Like, they're gonna have to evolve, and what I mean by
social media platforms are honestly, this is a fun time to go there once and for all. World. Let me explain to you, for everyone who's like, these fucking platforms make all the money and they're fucking using me and I'm getting used. Let's just talk about it. Dustin, do you know if it does cost or does not cost money to put an ad in a newspaper? Do you think you can call a newspaper and say, hey, I'd like you to put a full page ad, and here's what I'd like you to put, and I'd prefer you charge me nothing?
That is not
possible. Right. Do you think I can call CNN right now and say, hey CNN, hey Fox, hey CBS, hey ABC, I would like to run a video in between your hit shows, a commercial, and I would like to pay you nothing for that? Okay, that billboard outside right behind you. Do you think I can call that number and say, hey, I'd like to put up the vinyl that goes there to say, follow VeeFriends on social media, and please charge me nothing?
Absolutely not.
Do you believe I can call Howard Stern's show on Sirius and say, hey, Howard, listen, you know how you read these things in between the show? And you're like, go to VeeFriends.com. Do you think Howard would do that for free?
Hell no.
Cool. Now, these social networks say, hey, we're open, create an account, post something, and something can happen. And it costs $0 from us. This whole concept that these social networks have fucked the man has used social networks for their benefit. I've built a humongous audience on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and I haven't paid those companies a single penny. And when I sell empathy and schmempathy and all this, like that, where does that come from? This is a ludicrous conversation. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for decentralized social networks where you have to build your own audience.
Where you're not not relying on an algorithm to...
You post and people are there. Mm-hmm. You're getting access to people. People love to cry about things that they take for granted. When I was older, I was like, wait a minute, what? Email? I could just send email and not be charged? Twitter? Wait, so let me get this right. This is why I freaked out about Twitter. Back to buying stuff. So I get to post, people follow me, and they can share so I get word of mouth and distribution, and the platform's not charging me? And by the way, here it comes. Twitter's about to charge for and you know what everyone's gonna do? Fuck this bullshit. Why do we charge? Because you don't want ads. You don't want them to monetize. Like this, my data is being monetized is fucking lap. By the way, on the record, I'd be really sad if that went away. I like that most of the ads that I see have something of interest for me. I don't like the ads on television. I don't need diapers or tampons when I'm watching this shit. Like, I don't need it. I don't need your beer. I'm not going to drink your beer. I don't need that ad. I like New York Jets ads. It's a better experience when I'm targeted. The whole thing fucking pisses me off. It really does. Not because I love social networks. I don't give a fuck about it. I could give a shit about social networks. I just don't like when people talk without a complete conversation. It's free. Instagram is free for you. So they monetize by advertisers coming to you. That's like television. You know who else monetizes your data? Television. You know who else monetizes your data? Newspapers. You're reading the Wall Street Journal. You turn the page. You don't want to see that full page ad of some financial service, but they know that if you're reading the Wall Street Journal, you might want financial services. I don't know. Like, people are very interesting to me. Because they're making money. They're making money. Or they're getting entertainment.
Yeah. No,
TikTok does not charge you for all that entertainment. Every kid on earth gets unlimited entertainment on TikTok for free. Meanwhile, they have to pay $20 a month or whatever fucking Netflix. How much is Netflix now?
15.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
like,
I don't know.
I don't get it. Like, it's entertainment for free. It's building audience for free. Like, how do you think this works? I can't wait for decentralization when it's based on merit and not the algo and the audience is there. We'll see how much people reminisce about this time and what they complained about.
Well, it might come sooner than later. We'll see what happens with Twitter. What, like you said.
It's a fascinating thing, brother. People are funny, man. Water's free, by the way. Just putting it out there for millions. I'm part of Charity Water, so I know it's not free for a lot of people and not easy. But like, just to remind everybody, water, for a lot of people, if you're listening to this podcast, it is very likely that you have water but you pay. You'll pay $4 for bottled water and you have it for free. People are just funny. Like, the things that people talk about and do, like, you know how hot I am on this shit
Yeah.
bothers the shit out of me. You're crying poor and you're buying $4 Starbucks for coffee, which used to be $0.25 5 minutes ago.
We just have a couple minutes left. Just want to do some quick questions.
Let's do it.
Just got 4 of them here. Which VeeFriend are you most excited to develop?
The Harpic.
Harpic. Yeah, I'm not asking necessarily what's your favorite VeeFriend, just
exactly.
which one you're.
Because it's the thoughtful 3-horned Harpic is the only made up character in all of VeeFriends. Every single VeeFriend otherwise is something people know. Mm-hmm. And so it's most fun to develop because I have to develop it. Like, what are Harpic? I think about the 3-horned Harpic like Chewbacca. Chewbacca was in Star Wars and they needed to develop it. But later, because it was so successful, you could develop all Wookiees, not just Chewbacca. So the Harpic is not Chewbacca, it's a Harpic. It's a Wookiee. So I have to develop the whole genre of them. Mm-hmm. This is just the thoughtful one. It could be, if you ask me 16 years from now, give me a hot take guess. I'd be like, ooh, the Harpics spun out of VeeFriends and there's just a whole Harpic thing.
How did you come up with the Harpic?
I think at some point in the drawing, I got to go look back at the video. I feel like I was drawing with intent. I got to draw a cougar. Oh, fuck, how am I going to draw a cougar? And then at some point, I think it just got tired and bored and mundane. And I was just drew it. It was almost like a combination of a lot of other things I was drawing. And I was kind of just I'm going to make this. It was just kind of very creative.
Good. What other NFT projects, besides yourself, of course, yours, are you most interested in watching develop?
Moonbirds, because I'm a huge Kevin Rose fan. Bored Ape, because it became the dominant leader and it'd be fun to watch them. World of Women, I think, is still a really significant one. Doodles is interesting to me. personally. Pudgy Penguins is interesting to me personally, just like operators that I think are really trying to do it. You know, though, I mean, there's a ton that I'm keeping an eye on. Swampverse, you know, like just a little one. Wolf Game has been very successful. That was like one of the biggest things I like jumped on. AJ loved it. I got caught up in the hype of it all, like just got excited, you know. And it's done very well, actually. I'm a little bit out of the loop for this question because I really don't even have a great update on any of the things I just mentioned.
Focused on.
I've been focused on VeeFriends, but I'm excited to see what happens with those.
Awesome.
And really, honestly, everybody who's given it a real run, anybody who has good intent and has a real story, Dead Fellas, you know, like anybody who I think is like trying to really do it, it'll be fun to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited. And of the celebrities that have embraced Web3 and NFTs so far, which one are you most excited to see what their next move is?
That's a great question. You know, I love Snoop because he's so entrepreneurial. Like he's a real entrepreneur besides being a rap icon or a hip hop icon. Seth Green, I think is like really about that life.
Yeah, I'm really interested in him too.
Yeah, I think he's just a great storyteller. Like he could like make him like he could make E.T. And if that E.T. was original, like whatever he's gonna do, he's a different level storyteller. He's got that George Lucas, Steven Spielberg like DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's of that caliber yet, but like he's got home run hitting ability. Like if you told me again, you're a genie from the future and like Gary, guess what happened? Green put out a project. And then 6 years later, a movie came out, and it was the Shrek, it was the Frozen, it was the E.T. of its time, and that like massively impact the, you know, I think he gets it.
And last, real quick, one sentence to leave with the listeners today.
That I'm extremely proud of you for coming out of your comfort zone to do this, and that if you can do this, everyone can do this, and everyone should do the things that they have in their stomach that they're scared or reserved to do. I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
I do this a lot. Like some people are animated like I am. Others like go right down the highway. And I think that's what you did here. And I think you'll continue to get better. And I can't wait to see your 100th episode.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.